So then lads, back with another video. Call back to last week. I did a video where we ranked every single defender gadget in Siege from worst to best. Now me, with my huge creative intelligence, decided that because of that video, this week we're going to switch things up and do the completely unpredictable move of ranking every attacker gadget in Siege. So without any further ado, let's get into this. So, at last place on our list, we have the one that I forgot exists until now. That's the smoke grenade. The smoke grenade functions as a smoke grenade in any other game. However, in this game, it's really not the sort of game where a smoke grenade would be useful in any way. So, as most of you will know by now, where you work a smoke grenade is that you throw it and smoke comes out of it. Now, honestly, this is pretty fucking useless. Not just in this game, but I find in games in general. Smoke grenade, because yeah, it impairs your enemy's vision. Remember whose else's vision it impairs? That's right, the person who threw it. Even if you throw it at your enemy, remember that the chances are you should see them in order to shoot them. If the only real benefit from having this smoke grenade deployed is that you'll look like a badass for about 5 seconds when you get that rounded and kill come shooting someone through the smoke before everyone forgets. This is useful and advantageous for some of the base game operators, because I haven't bought any of the ones that cost more than 1,000, such as Glaz. Nope, that's it. Glaz is the only one who has an advantage with the smoke grenade because his scope can see through it. The problem is with Glaz is he's a bit shit and I haven't used him since like the day I bought him. So that overall lands the smoke grenade at last place on our list. Alright, so coming in at 5th place is the one that I said should have been swapped with impact grenade and been made into a defender gadget, and that is the claymore. So the way the claymore works is, again, it's an item in most video games, but unlike the smoke grenade, it's actually useful in games like COD, and that's probably the only other game series that has it in that you deploy it and there's lasers coming out the front, and if someone brushes against those lasers, big boom boom. Now, the thing is with this, it's pretty fucking useless as an attacker gadget because, remember, they're not coming to you, you're coming to them. If you place it there, chances are that they're not going to stay out of the little room they're cooped up in and will never trigger it. Best chance of use is when you place the bomb diffuser and you're waiting for them to come in. The problem with that is, first of all, I barely get any matches of bomb diffusal ever, because it's almost always secure area, and also usually everyone's dead before anyone reaches the objectives. I don't know if it's a recent thing or it's always been like this, but everyone always seems to die before the actual objective can commence, so there might well just be team deathmatch at this point. There is one operator that has the claymore as advantageous out of the default selection, and that is Twitch. Although unlike Glaz, she's not exactly fucking useless. You place the claymore, when you deploy the shock drone, hopefully, it will go off when enemies trigger it. Sometimes there have been times when enemies just said fuck you and the claymore just hasn't gone off, and that costs a big hole in the skull. So overall, the claymore is a bit more useful than the smoke grenade, but pretty useless in terms of an attacker gadget. Alright, after that point, shit's starting to get slightly good. So in number 4th place, we have the frag grenade. Okay, so, as said with the smoke grenade and the claymore, in most video games, you throw the frag grenade, pull the pin, it blows up. However, it has a history of being a lot more useful in other games like Battlefield, CSGO, or COD. Because in Siege, you throw the frag grenade, but instead of it just fucking blowing up right now, you can probably sit down, read newspaper, have a cup of tea, or whatever else you want to drink, because I don't care if this is be sent to the tower, but tea is shit. And then after that, maybe, just maybe, the frag grenade might have gone off. Because for some reason, this frag grenade has mistaken itself for the time bomb, and just won't go off until the enemies fall out the way. Well, apart from that time, my dumbass thought the frag grenade had fallen through the floorboards when I was actually stuck between them, and I died. But not every defender is as retarded as myself, which makes the frag grenade a not very useful gadget if you're playing anything other than newcomer. And if you're experienced at the game and you play newcomer just to fuck off new players, then you're a dick, and I hope you die. So yeah, sometimes the frag grenade can be useful for killing enemies, or mainly the hostage. So if someone else has taken fuse and you feel evil that day, I guess sometimes it can be useful if the enemy just doesn't notice it. Like, frag grenade, though, isn't something that you'd expect to play stealthily. I guess it's more useful, like, not as its function for itself, but for really disrupting the flow of the defenders. They might have the perfect position, but once the grenade flushes them out from covers, the whole room's in disarray, and that's when you start shooting. So I guess that after effect it causes is more useful than its actual function. I don't know if that's the intended purpose, but if it is, pretty smart on Ubisoft's part. So yeah, that's really all I have to say about the frag grenade. Big boom takes too long. Moving on. Now, it took a lot of juggling between this thing and number 2 on our list to decide what should get this position, but I've decided to give number 3 spot to the breach charge. So the way the breach charge works, because it's actually not in other games, is that symbol you press it against walls or floors or trap doors, and it'll kind of be flat against that, and then you go away, and if the defender hasn't shot it yet, you can detonate it. This is actually pretty useful. It's like if they just forget to reinforce a wall, like my teammates almost always do, and if you don't have an operator that can destroy walls. But mainly, it's useful for floorboards because, it's a fucking pain in the ass if you're a defender. You have to go all the way upstairs to reinforce the one trapdoor and you think, nah, it'll be fine. And then it's not fine. So yeah, the funny thing I like to do with it is blow up a wall so that defenders are like, oh shit, he's gonna come through that wall, but then don't come through that wall. But yeah, it's pretty useful in terms of functionality because, there's not really any doors in Siege. Just fucking realize that there's no actual doors in Siege. Anyway, yeah, but you can make your own with the breach charge. So yeah, that's why it lands a number 3 spot on our list. Okay, number 2 spot. As I mentioned, I was juggling this around with the number 3 spot, breach charge. I eventually decided on this position, and that's the hard breach charge and number 2. The difference between this and the breach charge, it's simple. The hard breach charge is hard. Okay, but actually, unlike the breach charge, it can get through reinforced walls. And, that makes it seem like it's superior in any way. But things that the breach charge does have over it is that you only get 2 hard breach charges, but 3 normal breach charges. And also, you don't get control over when it detonates. Like, the moment you deploy it, it just starts going off and then boom. Also, rather than taking away the entire reinforced wall, it just makes a hole in it. The disadvantages and advantages out of the way. Yeah, the fact that it can break through reinforced metal really just makes it outweigh the breach charge. Yeah, it's useful because eventually a really determined defender will go upstairs and reinforce their wood and trap door. So when I decide to go upstairs by sealing the wall because I'm too pussy to go on the same level as them, that makes it very useful. Yeah, it can break through reinforced walls. The issue with that is it's useful for peeking through, but if you step through there while there's still defenders in the room, you're done for. So yeah, overall, hard breach charge lands number 2 spot on this list. So, as you'll probably have deducted by now, the number 1 spot on this list is going to the flashbang grenade. As with 3 other items on this list, it is in other shooter games, and it's just as useful in those games. As you can probably tell by the name, you throw it, there is a flash, and there is a bang. Sadly, the bang does not kill people, but it disorientates their hearing, and the flash disorientates their vision. If you get hit by it, your vision will go whiter than a racist joke that I will get demonetized for making despite being white myself, and your vision will just hear ringing. Unless you have tetanitis, when that happens all the time. So yeah, unlike most really good things in games, this actually isn't so much of a pain in the arse. How do you do this? This is so overpowered. That's not fair thing to have used against you. It's just a well-balanced, well-used tool, unless you're going to be a dick and just spam it 3 times, regardless of how many teammates are in the area that you're throwing it at. I've never had this happen to me, but I may have accidentally done this to my own teammates a few, well, maybe a lot of times. It's useful because you get 3 of them. Do you get 3 smoke or frag grenades? I honestly can't remember. But honestly, if you just had 1 of them and then 3 smoke or frag grenades, I'd still choose it just because how useful one of them can be. You know, your defender thinks they got the perfect camping spot, you throw that one in, and they're not going to see when you kick their fucking face in. So yeah, I can't be bothered to do any more explaining on why the flashbang grenade is the best attacker gadget in Siege. So yeah, that was every attacker gadget in Siege, ranked from worst to best. I have no plans for what next week's video will be. I've noticed that in the menu for Modern Warfare, when Activision tries to make you buy some of their other shitty games, notice that the buy option for Vanguard has changed to play. So if they are finally giving away that piece of shit for free, maybe next week I can play the campaign and you can tune in to watch as I die on the inside before killing myself on the outside. But for now, feel free to subscribe and watch some of my other videos. Like, if you want, I don't really give a shit about likes. So then lads, that's the end.